Welcome to the Elite Power Moves podcast, where we unlock the secrets to level up in all areas of life. I'll be interviewing some of the world's top performers in their fields so that you can uncover and learn the strategies that have led to their overall success and apply it to your own life. Chris, welcome to the Elite Power Moves podcast, mate, all the way from the US. How you doing?
Appreciate you, man. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on your show.
It definitely looks pretty hot over there in the US at the moment.
Yeah, I'm glistening a little bit.
It's good, mate. It's
Wow.
freezing over here in Australia at the moment. Mate, I want to get stuck straight into the questions that all our listeners want to learn about you. Chris, you've coached thousands, including elite celebrities, and now lead your own brand. How do you personally manage your energy, health, and mindset and show up as a strong leader, husband, father, and motivational speaker?
Man, I think it all starts with what I invest in myself at the beginning of each day. So I get up about 3 a.m. I use that time to meditate, do visualization, and then visualize, every day I'm always striving to be better today than I was yesterday. And so I visualize an identity, identity that I want to carry throughout that day. And once I'm connected to an elevated emotion, I take that identity out into the world and I make decisions based off that identity. And so anytime I'm, working with someone, my goal is to make sure, in our meeting that they leave that meeting better than we started it. How can I empower, love, inspire somebody to become the greatest version of themselves? And that's just my motivation every day.
Yeah, I think like it's actually a proven study that the first minute of the day and the last minute of
Yeah.
the night is when we're in that trance state. And if we can visualize our success we created, and I say this very regularly on the podcast, like your subconscious brain can create whatever you want in life, you know.
Mhm.
And I find that motivational men like you are always owning the morning. It's the foundation for setting up the day, and visualization is definitely important.
Absolutely.
Chris, like you, I believe in opening doors and surrounding myself with great men that inspire growth. I know you've had some powerful conversations with icons like Mark Cuban. Would you be
Mhm.
open to sharing advice he gave you and how it shaped you and your journey as a high performer?
Well, it was interesting because on my podcast, Beyond Fitness, one of my on my bucket list was to get some type of business advice from Mark Cuban. I've always been a big fan of him. I love the way how he managed his brand when he had the Dallas Mavericks. I believe he sold it since then, but it was the way he treated his employees. He treated his athletes, his employees the same. And he has a very, very giving heart. And so I've always wanted to model because I grew up in poverty. I grew up in the ghetto, man. So, and I didn't have a father growing up. So I always looked at powerful men and, as a, to try to take a little bit from each person. And I promise you, man, I was on my podcast one day and I was talking about my bucket list. And my bucket list was to one day get some advice and mentorship from Mark Cuban. And one day, man, I just, about 6 months later after I made that statement, I was up and I said, you know what, I'm gonna shoot him a message on Instagram. And I asked, if he'd be open to giving me business advice. So I didn't want to take too much of your time. I just need a nugget. And man, it was about 3 hours later. He responded on IG. He said, absolutely, shoot, what you got? And so basically, I just talked to him about in my message. I just kind of like messaged him about, you know, what was your mindset and your identity, for to help you create such a legacy already, an empire. And he kind of just shared it. He was just like, first you gotta understand, is your business really a business? And he started breaking it down in a language that I wasn't familiar with because he's speaking from a billionaire mindset. But I was able to like really process what he told me and start applying the principles. And since I've been applying the principles, things have been skyrocketing, skyrocketing. It's been amazing.
Yeah, I guess that like you said, most men like Mark, I think not only visualize their success, like you said, but they also have gratitude. They have
Right,
respect for everyone. It doesn't matter if
right.
you're a cleaner in my business or you're a top executive CEO, like I'm going to treat you with respect, and they're very humble. Chris, would you be happy to share some of the advice that he shared with you?
Man, it was so much. If you don't mind, let me look into my phone real quick. Let me hear. It was so much. I was literally just trying to like keep it short with him because I didn't want to take too much of his time. He's a billionaire, so I know he got a billion things to do. But I wouldn't. I could probably read a couple of things he told me. Where it is. Oh, he talked to me about I talked to him about my programming, different things like that, and he and about targeted audience, and he was like, whoever says yes, ask your current customers for referrals. That was one of the things he told me. And then also he said it's all about sales. Whatever your product, you have to go out and sell it. If you can't sell it, then it's the wrong business or not business at, or is it a business at all? And that statement right there was powerful. And I'll tell you why. I'll read that again. He said, it's all about sales. Whatever your product, you have to go out and sell it. And if you can't sell it, then it's the wrong business or not a business at all. That's what he said. And what I took from that is okay, whatever your product, inside of you right now is a gift and a purpose to do some amazing things. Like right now, your podcast, whatever the businesses you have, all of that stuff is there's seeds on the inside of you, right? But you're the product. You are the product, and inside of you, there's an energy, right? There's a expectation, an anticipation. There's passion. There's motivation to become, like I mentioned earlier, the greatest version of yourself. And so, what I took from that is I look at my fitness platform. I look at my motivational speaking. I look at my coaching. Those are leaves, and I'm sorry, those are branches to the root. The root is me. I'm the product, and so what am I really selling? Is what I had to ask myself when he sent that. And what I believe I'm selling is I'm selling empowerment, love, and inspiration, motivation. I'm not selling hope. To me, hope is a beggar. So I felt like that's what I'm selling. I'm selling opportunity. I'm selling perspective. You never know when you're gonna someone's at a crossroad. So I'm selling identity, purpose, value. You see what I'm saying? And so I
Yeah.
took that phrase and I started breaking it down in several different ways. And to me, that's what I started applying to whether I'm in the fitness space or I'm coaching or public speaking. I'm in this moment right now. This is the branch of the product because I'm the product. People aren't buying the fitness program. They're not buying the motivational speaker. They're not buying the coaching. They're buying me. You see what I'm saying? And so I was able to take that, that statement he made and just really take myself to the next level.
I think most people they obviously buy not the product, they buy from emotion, from
Mhm.
the feeling that you give them. And you can see that by looking at your website at the video, and your motivational speak in the video. Like it speaks to you. It speaks to the emotion.
Mhm.
And like you said, I think as coaches ourselves, most people, what we're trying to do is not like just target the fat loss. We're trying to target the identity, the
Right.
underlying issues, the
Right.
emotions, and changing the mind. And I
Mhm.
think that's the first thing that people need is that emotion to buy in and go, well, wow, Chris, like I really feel you here.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can obviously tell you're an amazing coach, and like I said, it's just like reaching out to you as well. Like you're a busy, high-performing man, and like you're always, you can tell you're humble and you're wanting to give and share.
Absolutely.
Um, Chris, a lot of CEOs and busy professionals struggle with staying consistent. What simple health and training routines would you recommend for high achievers to build discipline without burnout?
I think first and foremost, you got to have goals. Like I can't go to the gym just to go to the gym. Like I have a sense of purpose of why I'm going. And so, I always often tell people, like, even when I train them, whether it's virtually or they come to my gym, I need something to emotionally connect with. For example, let's just say you wanted to train, right? And you was like, well, I want to put on some muscle, different things, and we go live virtually. And so for me, it's like, okay, before we train, I need a list of goals because I need to connect. Whatever your goals are, I'm going to, in my mind, make them bigger because my goal is to meet you right where you are and show you something you've never seen within yourself. You
Yeah,
see what I'm saying? In those moments where you struggle with consistency or you struggle with the workout, now I'm able to remind you why we're doing this, if that
yeah,
makes sense. One of the things that has been very amazing in my journey as a trainer is having the different types of clients and meeting each client right where they are and the coaching strategy different for each client because people come from different walks of life. You mentioned earlier about targeting fat loss. Well, you know what? Fat loss is the I would say what the result of their situation. Like that's the end result for another issue, right? So it's like, well, what happened that triggered you to binge eat, or what happened to trigger you to not want to take care of yourself? I don't care about the fat. I want to talk about the problem. You see what I'm saying? And then being able to help them, first of all, identify and look at the problem, and then coach them through it. Some people, it takes longer to get to the goal, but the most important part is, do they trust you? People would do so much more for you and your service, and if they know you really they can trust you, and that you really believe in them. You could take I always tell people, don't look at your mountain, let's climb it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're the sort of coach like me. I like to first identify that, like I ask someone, like, you want to lose 10 kilos, but I ask them, what's health to you? What does health mean to you? If we lose the 10 kilos, what's the next phase? What does health mean to you then? Like
Mhm.
I like to have people envisioning, like, losing the weight, having more energy, feeling better.
Right.
And the way I see health is self-love, it's self-respect. It's sometimes people think it's selfish, but it's selfless.
Mhm.
And I think it's one of the things that you said, you've got to target that identity, you've got to target that belief system and the way they think about themselves. Because
Right.
health is not just about like now and like how you feel, but it's also that 70-year-old that gets to run around with their grandkids, not the
Absolutely.
70-year-old that's on the veranda, can't tie their shoelaces,
Mhm.
that has like, future risk of heart disease or insulin resistance or thyroid issues. And, it's about, but it's also about how they feel,
Right.
and I think a great coach like you also, like you said, they build trust
Mhm.
within them, and that then builds trust within themselves. And
Mhm.
I think I always say to my guys when they come in, like, sometimes in life you got to take off the armor and you got to put down the sword, because the first part of a transformation, really, with a good coach like you, is to become vulnerable, and to
Right.
open up and
Right.
to say, like, out loud what their goals are. And
Mhm.
like I said, that buys in that emotion, to start with, and they have the emotion and feeling, and then you build the system around their life. I like to look at health like, being a mind and body performance coach, I like to look at health like a system. Like it's literally like what you said at the start of the day, getting up at 3, visualization, and I guarantee you have great habit stacking habits during the day. And these
Absolutely.
habits then increase your energy, your self-worth, your self-love. And I guess great men like you share that.
I
And
appreciate
obviously sounding like you have a similar upbringing to me, and you grew up in the ghetto in the Bronx. And
it.
usually men like who have been down to the bottom have always reached out and pulled everyone up with them as well. So
Yeah, I will tell you this to piggyback that is, having those humble beginnings. I know what it felt like, not having food, and my mother being a prostitute, and my dad not being in my life, and in the hood, my mom on drugs and things like that. And even to this day, when I'm on a stage speaking or training someone or coaching someone, I never want a person to feel the way I felt. I told myself once I was, able to really make an impact in the lives of others, I would do whatever it took to protect people from feeling the way I felt. So I think that's where the motivation and things come from. And even when training someone, because people come from different walks of life, people have different traumas, different situations, and so one of the things that's been very good as far as helping people get results, whether it's fitness or professional or business results, is connecting, as I mentioned, about their identity, like what are the goals, right? And then once they understand the goals and they understand, okay, there's an identity to these goals, but there's blessings. There's blessings, financial, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. There's blessings that's connected to this version of you that you desire to be. That makes sense? And so to change, the goal is, what can I do every day to mirror this person that I desire to be? Because the blessings are attracted to that version of you. If you come to me and you say, I want to accomplish this, 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 it's not currently in your physical reality, right? So you got to become the person that those goals are aligned with for them to show up in your life.
Yeah. It's
You know what I'm saying?
about having that 100% clarity and 100% belief, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Chris, leadership isn't just about business, it's about legacy. How do you bring purpose into the way you lead your family and your brand and also your followers, especially through your motivational work?
Authenticity. I would say that that would be it because I'm not a perfect person. I have struggles as well. And it's sometimes, one of the things that, as far as being a leader, I love to lead by example, but most especially when it comes to my kids, because, I didn't have a father growing up. So in my mind, I'm my kid's superhero. So even when I'm struggling, I'm still demonstrating acts of kindness and love and patience and understanding to them so that one day when they realize, man, dad was struggling at that time, I couldn't even tell because he never changed as a person. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so always mindful of, even in leadership, just understanding people struggle, understanding right where they are. And there's a fine line between, pushing them to be great, or sometimes it's just about having a conversation with them and let them know, hey, I see you. We're going to work through this together. And the best part is to take the pressure off. Every workout's not going to be perfect. It's not. It's not going to be your best effort. So what positive can we grab from that? Guess what? You showed up, you did your best today. And that's the thing I try to focus on. And it's amazing to see how people stand up on the inside and rise above, situations. Yesterday, my son had a training session. He's one of the top kids in the country in basketball. He'll be 12 in a couple of weeks. Super talented kid. And he had a back-to-back session. He had a session from 10 to 11 with one trainer. He had a 30-minute break, and then his another trainer from 11:30 to 1. And the first trainer was really pushing him. And he he was being pushed hard. He came up to me and he's like, Dad, my body, he woke up, he wasn't feeling great. He wasn't feeling his best self. He said, Dad, I feel like my body's breaking down. I don't know if I can get through the session. I said, son, let me explain something to you. Right now, you're here, right? And there's other kids in our area that are here, and that's pretty close. But now it's time for you to make a quantum leap. Yes, your body's tired, so now you got to tap into your spirit. You see what I'm saying? Now the separation is in the preparation. It's time for you uncomfortable. This is where greatness shows up, son. This is you got to go back out there. You got to bite down and you got to do whatever it takes to get through this workout. And the best part is this, son. It ain't got to be perfect. You just got to complete it and do your best in the moment. So I end up going out, on the court with him and face guarding him because he gets face guarded a lot because he's a really good basketball player. And I'm a big guy. So he had to work to get open, while I was guarding him. And he was getting open. He ended up finishing the workout. And I looked at him and I said, that's what I'm talking about. You became greater today from that moment. And so that's really what it's about, man. Just meeting people where they are and just coaching them through the difficulties and their struggling moments.
Brother, I love that, and it really sits here with me because all great leaders are always the best leaders for the best people in their life, and that's their kids. You know, I actually recently, 44, I've recently had my firstborn who's turning 1 on Wednesday. Um, and the reason I created like a lot of what I do is around legacy
Mhm.
because like you said before with identity, like a lot of us grow up with identities that are formed from our parents and their parents, and it's a
Right,
generational, like I feel like life is generational dominoes. Like we have
right.
this domino that goes from parent to parent to parent, and you could have
Mhm.
been locked up and in jail and
Mhm.
or dead,
Absolutely.
or same with me with the gangs and everything I did in Sydney when I grew up. But you're the sort of man that has taken the hit and stepped out of the way of that domino so it doesn't get
Right.
passed on. And you've created a new identity in your family chain,
Yeah.
um, which is, I think, the most powerful thing. Like talking to Keaton from Diesel Brothers on the podcast,
Right.
we talked about like I think this is the most powerful thing you can do as a leader,
Mhm.
because you want to turn up to lead your clients, your business, your staff, but you also want to turn up to be the best leader for your
Right.
family.
There's a phrase that I told myself, when I really started investing into my craft and into my career. And I said that curse ran all through my family until it ran into me. And that's it. And it's like I'm blazing the trail. And my kids, man, thank God, I can honestly, as a man, smile on the inside that they will never experience what I had to experience.
Yeah.
I had
I
to
think,
blaze a trail for them, then you know what, I did my job.
yeah, and I think, that everyone like men like you and me and all busy professional men are always chasing like, the next deal, the next business deal. They're chasing something that is the mountain never ends. And I
Right.
think like true fulfillment really comes from really health, self-love, self-respect, identity, and what you leave behind, you know,
Right.
what you're going to pass on. Because I can guarantee you, the conversation you had with your son, like in 30 years' time, your son's going to be having that same conversation with your grandson, you know. And that's fulfillment, that is fulfillment.
Yeah.
Um, Chris, the healthy bean coffee isn't just a product, it's a statement. What inspired you to create a performance-driven coffee for leaders, and how does it help and tie into cognitive focus, gut
Mhm.
health, and overall wellness?
Well, to be honest, my partner is the one that created it. And so he at the time I was with Beachbody, and my buddy David, he had got a company started, and at first I was just an influencer. He reached out to me about being an influencer, and then over a period of time, he offered me a piece of the company, and I was like, I couldn't turn that down. So I was able to get a part of the company and some ownership on the east, from the East Coast. He's on the West Coast, and so that's been one of the biggest blessings. But I can't take credit for how amazing this coffee is. David is the one that put all the the creativity and the blood, sweat, and tears. And I just was just blessed to be in a situation where I was able to buy into the company and have my own brand of it. But the coffee is phenomenal. It's low acid. I learned so much about coffee, by the way, because of David. And the thing about it is, I didn't know that coffee had mold, and this coffee is mold free. There's no mold. Low. I mentioned low acid. pH is like 6.25, super low as well. And one of the things that is super duper high in antioxidants, like 10 times the amount of antioxidants in the average coffee. What else is so amazing? But no crash. There's zero crash in this coffee, and that's why he named it Healthy Bean. But there's a superfood we have that's got matcha, Rubio's tea, and chia seeds in it. It's infused. And so it's a powerful, powerful coffee. I use it as a pre-workout sometimes, and it's just he nailed that, man. Like I said, he was the one that created it. He was the one that got it rolling. I just at the right time, man. He said, "Man, CD, you've been doing this for a while. I want to offer you a piece of the company." And I couldn't turn that down.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing coffee. We'll definitely have to put that into the show notes. Chris, talking about your journey from Beachbody trainer to CEO of Downing brand, what role has resilience played in shaping your ability to lead through public pressure and public, private re-interventions?
Someone asked me a question, Michael, that was kind of like the turning point for me. I was with Beachbody, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I had with them because of them, I was able to, really take care of my family, man, and to really, experience a part of life that I never experienced. It was the only time I really truly had financial success like that on that level. I mean, I had success prior to that, but it was like local success. But this was a much more national. And in this period, in this moment, with the company, I was accomplishing great things, right? And so I had a moment when someone said, "What what is your biggest accomplishment in life, Chris?" And I said, "You know what? I feel like my biggest accomplishment in life was figuring out who I was and everything I was created to be. That was my greatest accomplishment. Is literally figuring out who I was and everything I was created to be." And so when I understood that, and again, respectfully, like I appreciate Beachbody, I appreciate the opportunity. What I was producing versus what I was making at the time, even though it was much more than what I ever had, I just felt like my value wasn't appreciated. You see what I'm saying? Based on what my product, made the company versus what I was paid out. And so, I took the servant role. I stayed for a while, and I was a servant. I was a person. If you ask to go do this, I'm gonna do that times more. But at some point, I had to understand when a company started going in a different direction, just with their model, that it wasn't aligning with my spirit. I had a situation that was the pivotal moment for me to leave. Is there was I had a every quarter we would go on tour, all the super trainers, and be a 3 4 city tour, and I was going to Denver, and there was a gentleman who reached out to my assistant on social media and said, Chris is my wife's favorite trainer, and she recently had a double stroke. If I drive 2 states to come see him, will he take a picture with her? And she reached out to me, and I said, can I have his number? And she sent me his number. I said, listen, first of all, I'm very humbled that you would even consider something like that. I can do better than just take a photo with her. I'm going to put you guys in VIP. All right. And so they came to the event. The event was sold out. And I took a photo with her. And when I did my motivational speaking part, I just froze for a second. My eyes was locked on her, Michael, and her hands, she couldn't open her hands. And so I asked Allison, I said, Allison, I need you to write me a check real quick. I'm gonna write a check for $500. And I went up to her and I put my hands over her hands and I said a prayer for her. And I said, everybody reach your hands in this direction. And so everyone reached their hands in this direction. I prayed for her and I said, this is between you and God. But one day you're going to walk and one day your hands are going to open and you are going to do great things. And people were crying and I was pretty choked up about it, man. And about a week and a half later, Beachbody's lawyer contacted me, said, hey, I heard you had a great event. I said, yeah, man, it was awesome. He said, I got to ask a favor of you though, and you can't get offended. I said, okay, what's that? He said, I have to ask you not to pray for anybody anymore when you go on tour because it offends people. And that moment right there, I realized there's not a dollar amount in this world that would ever make me compromise who I am as a person. And I just politely said, then I suggest you don't send me on tour anymore because I have to do what my spirit allows me to do or, you know, motivates and inspires me to do. And this woman drove 2 states and I felt led to do that. I felt led to give her money. I felt led to pray for her. And so I will never compromise my faith, my spirit, my energy for a dollar amount. And so that was the turning point right there for me to as I started making plans to leave. So
I
I
think
ended up yeah, I ended up leaving and then I started my own brand.
that's
And that was
amazing.
it.
It's it's so funny like in life where like things happen just to open new doors like to
Yeah.
where you need to be because
Mhm.
it sounds like from that pivoting point in your life that that just opened a door for you to transform hundreds and thousands more lives
Yeah.
by doing that. I actually had a
The
similar
interesting thing,
I had a
I'm sorry.
similar circumstance in I haven't really shared this on the podcast, but firstly, I used to be 145 kilos. I grew up on the in the ghetto in Sydney. My dad was a shift worker. Mom passed away when I was young, and I was flat, depressed, and I had really, had low self-esteem, bad identity, and I sort of led 15 years ago, I started off a gym in the backyard. I had a kettlebell and I turned it into a really great gym in Newcastle, which is still here now called Body Beyond Limits. And during one of those periods, I had one of my trainers, like the lockdown happened, and one of my trainers stole people that I've helped lose 50 kilos, 60 kilos, 30 kilos, and that were with me since the backyard days. And the lockdown happened, and my partner at the time left me for that trainer. And I was stuck in this pivoting point to like, giving to all these people for so many years, and I felt like I was wasting my time. Like you, I felt like I wasted so many years on giving to people that didn't respect what value I bring to the world. And that's when I started peak performing teams and Elite Power Moves Legacy. And again, you just have these periods in life where it just opens up this massive door.
Mhm.
Um, Chris, I wanted to come into the last question. This is a rapid fire question, so I wanted to get you prepared for this one. So there's about 6 questions here.
Okay.
I put this into everyone at the end of the podcast, so I'm going to go through these one by
Go
one.
ahead. Okay.
What's the most important lesson you've learned as a high achieving CEO?
The most important lesson is to I would say strive to bring out the best in every human being I come in contact with.
I love that. What daily habit has the biggest impact on your productivity?
But visualization by far, and connecting it to an elevated emotion.
If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to experience the things I've experienced to help me become the person I am today. Thank you for never giving up on me. Because if I'd have gave up on myself when I was younger, I would have never become the person I am today.
What's what the best investment you've ever made in your business?
The best investment I've ever made into my business was the period of time where I did coaching for free, training for free, motivational speaking for free. I was investing into people. I was planting seeds. And through the grace of God, I've been able to reap a harvest.
100%. How do you handle stress and stay focused under pressure?
Rest and say, oh, that's a good one. As I mentioned earlier about that, having this identity that I walk out to every day, right? So the goal is to be better today than you were yesterday. And so yesterday's identity is the old Chris. So if a problem arises today, I have to make a decision based on the person that I decided to be today. And sometimes it's more of having more compassion and understanding um, versus acting out of emotion. And so I had this identity of how I want to be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, even financially that day. And so try to make a decision from that space because that's the person I'm creating.
So, what's one book or resource you recommend for inspiring leaders?
Ooh, I got several. I would say, man, that's a good one. Whew, book. Mm. One of my favorite books is Purple Cow by Seth Godin. It's one of my favorite books. And that book was one of the books that really helped me be secure in who I am as a person because I think my training and a lot of things that I do is so unorthodox. And I think becoming a purple cow amongst the black and white cows is what really helped shape my mindset.
And last question, mate, is what's your drink of choice?
My drink, healthy bean coffee.
I knew I knew you were going to say that one, brother. Um, I wanted to sort of recap, I guess the one thing I find from the most successful, powerful men that I connect with is contributing, giving.
Right.
And like you just said in your rapid fire questions, training people for free, public motivational speaking gigs for free. Um, and what that does is it just brings in energy. I'm a big fan of the universe. Like if you can give, you can have gratitude for your staff, your family. That always brings in the best energy and that leads to fulfillment. And that's I think the crucial thing that most people are missing is fulfillment comes from contributing what you give because that's going to bring in good energy.
Thank you for tuning in today, and I hope you found the discussion useful. Our goal is to positively impact the well-being of 1 million people's lives just like you by sharing the experience and knowledge of some of the world's top performers. So you don't miss out on any key strategies to help you succeed, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. And if you think you may know someone that would benefit from this episode, join us in our mission of impacting 1 million lives and share it with your friends.